Hello, I'm Drawlords and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing something a little more light-hearted than all the other stuff, a little bit more cartoony, so I hope you enjoy this. This is what Looney Tunes would look like as dinosaurs. The first one that I did was Bugs Bunny, just because he was the first one that I thought of, and to do him I decided to do him as a T-Rex because this was the first one, and the T-Rex is one of the most iconic dinosaurs of all time. For this design I was really emphasizing the body proportions, making sure the legs and the tail were different sizes, obviously the legs being much bigger than they would normally and the tail being much shorter because Bugs Bunny has big legs and a small tail. I then did this sort of odd mouth structure for his mouth, just because I thought it'd be pretty funny to have some sort of bunny teeth on the T-Rex. I also made sure his feet look somewhat like Bugs Bunny's, with this weird fluffy feet, but then I started to colour it in. Obviously I went with a grey and then white for the tufts of stuff, but I originally was going to do them light grey, but then I thought they would stick out more and be more true to the original design if they were just white. Then I started to do the environment, and I really enjoyed doing these environments because they were so simple but still really cool. For the background I started off with this sort of rough, rocky texture and then did a tree in the Looney Tunes style. I was looking at quite a few Looney Tunes images and that's where I saw that they had this gradient from a lighter blue down into sort of a white, and then I also looked at their shading style and I found that it was pretty simple. It was just a slightly darker colour around the edge of where there's not going to be light. I then changed the landscape a little bit because the Looney Tunes tend to have this sort of round landscape. They're very cartoony, so that's what I did. Overall this piece sort of ends up being a little more dark than the other two that I do because I hadn't fully embraced the very bright comic-y style of the Looney Tunes. This is how it turned out. I hope you enjoy. On to the next one. The second Looney Tune I thought of was Daffy Duck, and immediately I was thinking of Diplodocus just because they both start with D. I was then thinking how I could make it more like Daffy Duck and less like just a normal Diplodocus, and to do that I changed the body shape a little bit, making the upper body much smaller and the lower body much bigger. I was going to do this sort of feathery tail, but I think that didn't really work. I think what I should have done was make the tail sort of feathers stick up a little bit and not have this long tail. I also had the really weird back duck legs that kind of looked odd on this drawing, but it stayed true to the Daffy Duck design. I also obviously added his sort of white collar and then another pretty simple environment that was really cool to do. I really like how they used gradient and then the contrast between blue and green to make a really interesting background that's actually really simple to do. With the line art on this one I was really focusing on trying to make it as clean as possible, and I didn't really need too much line weight variation because that wasn't the focus of this drawing, and it was going to be in a comic-y style, which generally there is less line weight variation in this sort of style. I really like how the head and especially the eyes and mouth look to really make a sort of fun expression on this dinosaur's face. I tried to make the forelimbs, their fingers, look kind of like feathers, and it kind of worked. And I was trying to add a little bit of movement just by having his hand up touching the tree that he's eating from. I then just make the rest of the environment, just doing a few bushes in the grass and the trees, and making the tree sort of curve a little bit, especially the leaves, to make it look more like the leaves he was eating. For the colouring, I thought that a pure black would just make it look really contrasty and just really odd to look at, so I decided to make it a dark blue. And I really like how this sort of makes the colour softer on the eye and not too jarring, and it also kind of contrasts with the rest of the colours of the environment. So overall I really like this piece. The last piece was going to be of Tasmanian Devil, and because I really wanted to inject some energy into the drawings for this video, and instead of having a really static one for this, I decided to embody Tasmanian Devil's sort of wild anger and just running around into a velociraptor that's sort of jumping with its squirrely tail. I had a little bit of trouble with the hands. I don't know why, but I kept drawing them backwards, which is quite odd. And I also made sure that the head was oversized compared to the rest of the body. Originally it was super duper oversized, so I kind of tamed it back a little bit to make it look a bit more natural, but overall I had a lot more liberty with the proportions of this drawing because it is in a more comic-y style, and that's something that style really lends itself to. I really like how the eye, I made it look really sort of crazy, and the line art on this one could have been better. It's a little bit sort of uneven in some places, but overall I quite like how it turns out. The big tongue just flopping out, it really reminds me of the Tasmanian Devil, which is good. I made sure to get the curvy tail in because when Tasmanian Devil's running around, he sort of has this swirly cloud around his legs, which is pretty cool, and I just wanted to have sort of a nod to that in this design. Then I did the sort of typical background for this style, using a gradient and some bushes. I didn't do a tree in this one because I didn't want anything to really be higher than the Tasmanian Devil, so that your focus would really go to him. I found that with the last two backgrounds I used much brighter colours, and I guess that was just because I was more confident in how they would look. The first one turned out way darker than the other ones. I was adding a little bit of shade, and that's when I realised I should have two colours in this design, the two colours of Tasmanian Devil. So I have this sort of fleshy pink tone, and I really think that added a lot to the design. Then I just fill in the background and the teeth just to make sure they stay white, and that's how this is how all of them turned out. My favourite's probably either Bugs Bunny or the Tasmanian Devil, just because they look more interesting. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to tell me what you think in the comments below, or you can join the Discord and tell me there. The link for that is in the description below. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.